All right, this Sunday night, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton will go head-to-head in their second presidential debate. This time, the candidates will be answering questions from an audience of voters. Our next guest says that jobs and the economy are the top issue for Americans. Joining us now, Congressman Sean Duffy. He's a member of the Financial Services Committee. It's great to see you, Congressman.
Hey, thanks for having me out.
How are you? So,
I'm doing well.
Before we move on to the next one, let's talk about the one from earlier this week. Did it mean anything? Does it help?
The vice presidential debate?
Yes.
Listen, I do think it is helpful that you had Mr. Pence out with great poise, talking about issues, remained calm, was able to give some hits to Hillary Clinton, but really, I think, stayed on his mark, where you had Mr. Kaine, who was, I thought, seemed a little bit erratic, was punching a little bit too hard. He seemed too rehearsed. And so, again, didn't do any damage to Trump. I think people are going to look to this next debate on Sunday night.
How close are you to the Trump campaign at this point?
Do I sit in meetings here in New York? No, I don't.
I mean, do you have any idea what the prep looks like this time around?
No idea. But I would tell you this. So I think if you look at how he prepped for the last debate, he wanted to come out, he wanted to be authentic, wanted to be real, but he missed some opportunities with Hillary Clinton. So I think he's going to learn from those mistakes, and I think he's going to be better prepared coming into this debate. But you've seen the poll numbers. They've fallen. It's not about the debate. I think it's been about the greater conversation about women and what's been taking place with Miss Universe. That's been the problem that he's had. And if he can get that behind him and start talking about issues that Americans care about, he'll be just fine.
So does he talk about issues in reference to Hillary Clinton's record and try to tie the shortfalls that we all are, there's a reason we're at 70%, wrong direction. There's things that you can talk about there. Or does he talk about remedies and specifics as to how he would address those? Does he continue to hammer Hillary Clinton for what's happening, or does he try to say, this is how I'm going to fix it?
I think he does both. I think you have to talk about what kind of leader Hillary has been, what kind of ideas that she brings to the table. Listen, if you like all the rules and regulations that have come from Dodd-Frank and other Obama administration initiatives, if you think the economy is better off for that style of government and regulation, vote for Hillary. If you want to actually lighten the load, if you want to reform our tax code, if you want to kickstart our economy, Donald Trump is a guy who fundamentally understands that, being a business guy from New York who's built a huge enterprise, understands regulation, understands taxes, understands banking. If he sticks to those issues, and again, I think people want someone who's authentic, but also someone who's honest with them. And when you drive into Hillary Clinton's emails, the server, the pay-for-play between the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton State Department, if you look at what she and Obama did with the 4 men in Benghazi who died and did nothing.
You don't think there's an honesty trust deficit with Donald Trump?
No. I think with American people and the issues that they care about, Donald Trump has been completely honest with them. I'm sure you played the clip from Bill. So Bill Clinton comes out, and
if you look at if you look at these fact-checking reports, I mean, he is, with respect, a serial liar.
So I would tell you, the middle America looks at the media, and they don't think they're fair and impartial as they analyze these two candidates. From television to newspapers, they are analyzing and looking at candidates for themselves and saying, who's telling me the truth? Who's leveling with me? Bill Clinton finally came out and said, Obamacare's a disaster.
We've been watching Hillary for 30 years. I know.
There's a huge trust deficit with her. I'm not saying that she's not.
But just give me an honest answer. Yeah. When she's talking, do you ever really believe? Do you believe much when she's? I mean,
I think that most of the things she says are accurate.
After this, I'm going to switch gears.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to switch gears. I want to ask him a question.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to switch gears and ask you about Wells Fargo. You're on the House Financial Services Committee. You're very vocal. You're one of these. If we had to pick a bunch of sound bites from that day, probably yours would come up where you accuse the company of basically stealing.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, because since then, a lot has happened with the story. A lot of counties, states are stepping back and doing business with Wells Fargo. Congress people like yourself have taken in a lot of money from Wells Fargo. I think you took in $12,500, according to Open Secrets. Do you think that money should be given back?
Open Secrets is wrong.
Okay, all right, good. I'm glad we clarified.
It was 15,000.
But here's the deal. You look at Wells Fargo, and I think obviously banking is trust with the American people.
Right.
And if you're stealing from your customers, which there's no doubt that the board and Mr. Stump, I believe, knew about, when you have 1,000 people getting fired a year, and it gets up to the board, and they don't take aggressive action. What would they do if you had 1,000 people a year that were stealing out of the till? That would have been stopped immediately. But if they're stealing from customers, they let the system continue because they're making money off it. I think it's appropriate that Congress call them out.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, so,
I agree. I mean, I think that's your job. I'm just wondering if you think that Congress people should give back money taken from Wells Fargo.
No.
Do you think that the federal government should take more responsibility
for not... If you watched my clip, do you think that Wells Fargo contributing to my campaign has done anything for me?
Oh, no,
in my aggressiveness?
That's not the accusation. I'm just saying it's money. It's money that Wells Fargo makes.
I'm a Wells Fargo customer. I was there with Norwest when they were Norwest in Minnesota.
Did you have any extra credit cards you didn't know about?
I did. Not that I'm still not aware of any new accounts that I had.
The accusation is not that of being bought. That's not, obviously,
right.
It didn't look like it at all. No. I'm just wondering if there's a line in the sand where you draw, where you say you're accusing this company basically of being a thief, and yet you're taking money from them. And so I'm just wondering if you think of that money as money that you shouldn't take because it's doing business with a company that you're publicly condemning.
No, I'm publicly condemning the company. I'm pushing back. I'm fighting for the customers. I'm one of them. And I think that's the appropriate line to draw. But we've seen some of my colleagues come out and say, you know, Congress should demand that the CEO, Mr. Stump, step down. That's not our role. That's for the board. That's for the shareholders. That's not the congressional role. It's our job to do oversight. And one of our issues, and I don't know if this was driven in the hearings, but the CFPB came in at the very end of the game. Richard Cordray, and they had this whole case packaged for them. They got a $190 million fine. And the CFPB wants to stand up like they're the great defenders of consumers, when actually it was the LA Times, the LA City Attorney, it was the OCC, and the self-reporting of Wells Fargo. That was a rub for us because the CFPB knew about this years before and did nothing to protect consumers.
Are there going to be investigations into regulators?
There will be.
Should they be held just as accountable as Wells Fargo?
No. They weren't the bad actor, but when you're the
but their job is to protect the consumer, and you're in the corner for the American consumer.
When you're the cop on the beat, and you miss the signs, and then you come out and go, wow, didn't I do a great job as an investigator? Well, listen, you didn't do a great job. You missed everything. So don't come to the American people and say how great I am keeping you safe, when it was the LA Times, the LA City Attorney, and the OCC. That was our rub with the CFPB and the fine.
Andrew, I can't find anything more current than this is September.
Okay.
But as of September, for trustworthy, 50%, Trump had as long as...
I know.
Serial liar. I mean,
I'm saying you can watch the clips back to back.
But this didn't have...
He says things, and then...
But Andrew, this didn't have the latest debate, but it was 50 to 35. Yeah, 50. Trump was more...
I know.
That's how pathetic this whole...
I know the whole...
all right.
That's why I'm not... By the way, I'm not saying that Hillary Clinton is a bastion of trust.
Well, I mean, but 50-35, so...
But also, Hillary has been a government figure as a first lady, as a senator, and then at the State Department, and those lies have a direct impact on the American people. Where, you know, Trump has been a private citizen for a majority of his life. And I think that's where the rub has come in for a lot of folks.
If you get rich as a politician, something's wrong. That's Harry Truman. Anyway.
It's a longer debate. Come on back next time you're in town.
Hey, thank you.
You bet. When we